our guest back from
Hi,
Atlanta.
Hello.
Mr. Jonathan Chavez, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Chavez, that's your last name, right?
Yes.
So it's been over a year, right?
Almost exactly a year. Well, yeah, exactly a year.
Almost a year.
I think it was in December last
Of
time.
last year, December?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. I thought it was a little bit later, more than that, but glad to have you back.
Glad to be back.
So you reached out to me last week and you wanted to come on to talk about, I guess, Fani Willis, but something along the line, not the Trump case with Fani Willis so much, but you said it was another a related case dealing with Fani Willis. But before we get into it, introduce yourself to the audience, or reintroduce yourself to the audience.
Okay, my name is Jonathan Chavez. My professional life, I'm actually a director at one of the large hospitals here in Georgia. What I do on the side is I run what's called a nonprofit called Georgia Coalition for Truth. And what we do is we help people who need help, basically, whatever it is, whether it's anything legal or anything like that. Me, myself, to be complicit, I do not have a legal background, but I do have people, paralegals, and other lawyers who kind of advise me on, things, matters, that come about. Also, I've kind of dabbled in the political realm a little bit, so I do have some very few political connections. But I mean, in this day and age, it seems like who doesn't have political connections nowadays? And that's pretty much about me.
Okay. So do you want to quickly give us a backstory? Because we do have another guest coming on that you did mention to me.
Yeah, John Salveson. He's a partner with me. So he kind of worked with me in the Georgia Coalition for Truth. There he is right there.
Hi, John.
Hey.
How are you?
How are you? Good to see you all.
Well, can you briefly introduce yourself as well before we get into, the meat of the conversation?
My name's John Salveson, running for Congress, U.S. Georgia 5 against Nikema Williams. And I ran in 24, lost. I'm doing it again in 26. And that's how Jonathan and I conglomerated together and then stumbled on this case that we're all working on.
Okay. So, Mr. Chavez, tell us about the case. Like, what's going on? Because it seemed like this is Georgia, right?
Yeah, this is in Georgia.
Okay.
So it actually happened based off the last podcast I was on with you. So some people had seen the podcast with me, and they had reached out to me. The mother reached out about her son, Trayvon Reed, who was convicted. He was arrested in 2003 of a shooting, of which a young man lost his life. While he was awaiting trial in 2005, what appears to be kind of a revenge type situation, Trayvon was the victim of a shooting by Jermaine Smith and an accomplice. During that time, in the report, the police report actually put an arrest warrant out for Jermaine Smith and the accomplice. However, it came about later during an affidavit from Tasha Slaughter that she had testified under oath that she had seen Jermaine Smith with who was then ADA Fani Willis at a football game. So there was alleged personal ties between ADA Fani Willis and Jermaine Smith. Jermaine Smith and the accomplice was never arrested. They were never brought to trial. The charges were just eventually dropped, basically. So in 2006, Trayvon was convicted by ADA Willis. And then in 2009, turns out the GBI, the Georgia Bureau Investigation Examiner, Bernadette Davy, was fired and terminated as she admitted that she was falsifying ballistic reports on several cases. A private investigator was subsequently hired to look into this. And what the private investigator found is that Bernadette Davy had never even signed the chain of custody document for the bullet fragment. So there was no actually proof that Bernadette Davy even tested the ballistic fragment. However, in the 2006 trial, she had testified she was the ballistics examiner and that the ballistics report matched the gun that supposedly Trayvon Reed fired. So the family hired another attorney to pursue a CIU review of the case, citing that the forensic misconduct between Bernadette Davy that caused Trayvon Reed to be convicted. Upon asking for the bullet fragment to be retested, since Bernadette Davy was found, had testified, she never, she didn't test a lot of the bullet fragments. All of a sudden, the bullet fragment disappeared. They couldn't find it. So basically, it was lost. So with that, the attorney was asking for another, like an appeal of the conviction. During the appeals process, Judge Thomas A. Cox, who was assigned, eventually recused himself, citing conflict of interest with DA Willis at the time. We've been trying to carry this motion forward because of all the disparities within this case, to have Attorney General Carr assign a special investigator to look specifically into this case because of everything that's come forward amongst it.
Mm-hmm.
John, did you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah. Basically, Judge, I've studied, listened to you for a long time, and you're one of the very first pioneers to raise the flag on what's going on, especially in the legal scenario. Of course, we have our own Kamala Harris here in Georgia. Her name's Fani Willis. And Fani Willis, just to put it in the simplest of terms, and of course, this is all alleged. This is allegedly. Fani Willis used her female wiles to climb up. Basically, she was dating a gangbanger and a gang member, and thought that if she could place herself in the legal system, then if things went down, she could offer protection. And then vice versa, he could offer her protection. So it turned into a little mini mafia kind of scenario. And this Trayvon Reed case is just one of the many, many victims that this woman has perpetrated in her RICO. That's one of her strong arm tactics of trying to get her way. The RICO statute, which she just, in the simplest of terms, it's like somebody gets busted for a joint. Instead of you going to court, get it settled so-and-so, under the RICO, it's kind of like, we'll wait till we get like 100 people and I'll try them all at once. But in the meantime, you can just sit and rot in jail. Mm-hmm. And it's a horrifically unjust scenario that I can't even believe is being perpetrated. This man has been in there for over 4.5 years, allegedly innocent. This is one of the many. What we found in looking at this case is things start to unravel. When you see a little bit of something over here, then it's like, oh, wow, this too, new evidence pops up and more evidence keeps popping up. Most recently, Fani Willis was supposed to appear at the Capitol building. Court ordered everything. She has to do it. She can't get out. Then she had a scheduling conflict, and she's still pulling out of that. There's a lot of evidence against her where she used her position as the district attorney to basically strong arm her will and get her people in and out. Apparently, in this case, the Trayvon Reed case, it was her boyfriend that pulled the trigger. and she flip-flopped it all around using her status to make it so that Travon was the victim. And that he's just been sitting there waiting to have his trial for over 4.5 years. It's a horrible story. And the longer it gets drawn out, the more that this man is just sitting in there innocent in prison. It's driving us crazy. Jonathan has done an exorbitant amount of work to try to do what we can to expose as much evidence as humanly possible so that we can get justice for this young man. In doing so, we're unraveling the disgustingness of Fani Willis and how she used that position to prey on, my constituents, really, Georgia 5th. Those are my people, so I take it very personally. And unfortunately, I even think she's worse than Kamala Harris, quite frankly. But she got it, she got her means the same way. You know what I'm saying there, Judge. And she got her little positions and everything. In the beginning, she started messing around with the DA. It was Paul Howard. He was a terrible DA, and she was messing around with that. And then all of a sudden, she ends up taking his job. He couldn't do nothing about it. He had to sit there with his mouth shut. She's something else, man. She's going to definitely make for an interesting movie of the week. I pass it back.
Well, you know what? Interrupting here, one of the things the state legislative body of Georgia wants to get her in front of them, or at least one of its committees, to talk about is what happened to the $7.5 million that seems to have flown somewhere unknown that was supposed to catch up on these long overdue felony prosecutions. And what you're talking about is not unusual. I had a very tragic situation, person still in jail, and I had a conference just 2 weeks ago with the individual's two lawyers, defense lawyers, one of whom is now a sitting judge and the other one's retired. And one of the attorney generals or assistant AGs in my courtroom actually fixed the case and covered for somebody who was a friend of their mother who committed a homicide and framed an innocent man. And we had it on video, which sounded everything, and the elected DA went and covered for it and tried to destroy the evidence so that couldn't come out. But I know what you're talking about. It's a horrible evil. And Fani,
we tried to get remedy. We took this to the state bar twice, not once, but twice. They normally take, 6 months to tell you what kind of flavor ice cream they like. And they were very quick in saying, we're not going to pursue this. So the state bar, we can't turn to them for justice, the Georgia State Bar. They're completely polluted. And the Fulton County system from top to bottom, for those that don't know, is just an ungodly mess. I'm committed on trying to straighten that out with the help of whoever we can get. It's my constituents have been preyed upon there with that machine, that trap, for decades. And now, knowledge is power. Knowing what's going on, the next step is doing something about it. That's why the Georgia Coalition.
You could put on a COVID-19 mask, but it doesn't filter out the smell.
Yeah.
And the Georgia State Bar said the reason why that they were turning away the case is they said because everything was outside of everything would have been brought within 4 years of the allegations. However, the bullet fragment wasn't discovered missing until 2022.
Oh.
And we were within that 4 years. That's why we tried to resubmit again, but they never entertained the second submission. So that's why we're going.
Suggest, and I'm not giving you legal advice, but may I suggest that you say it was a hidden tort that was concealed, and at the point where the concealment was discovered, that's when your statute would start running.
Okay, yeah. I will put that in there, and I'll try again and see what happens, because that helps out. And also, there was two pieces of evidence that convicted this poor man. One was the bullet fragment, and another was a witness testimony of someone who was supposedly locked up with him, who testified that Trayvon admitted to him that he was the shooter. However, during the trial, it was never disclosed that the person who is testifying was given immunity or given special privileges from the prosecution. So that violates, I think it's the Giglio v. United States, where the prosecutor is supposed to disclose if a witness is being given special considerations for testimony. And it was 1 month after the trial ended that this person was released from federal prison. So it was already in process. It was already submitted at the time of his testimony, but it wasn't official yet upon his testimony. So that was another thing that we were arguing too, is the violation of that. And there's four main things that we really are trying to fight about this, and it just doesn't seem like anything is really being resolved. Like this whole piece of physical evidence, the state firearms examiner who testified that she falsified reports. The fact that District Attorney Willis is now, when she was ADA, she is now district attorney, so she oversees the conviction integrity unit, the CIU. So she's responsible for which cases get brought forward and which ones get denied. And, most shocking of all is the fact that Trayvon Reed in 2005 was shot, and the people who shot him were never even brought to justice. So a lot of those things are just, a miscarriage of justice.
I want to ask you a question, both of your question. So the case right now, with all this new evidence that's, coming out and that they have, okay, so is it Fani Willis who is really blocking the case from for retrying the case, or blocking for Trayvon Reed to get a new case? Like, what is the holdup? Like, what is actually blocking him for being denied, I guess, a new trial? Not new case, new trial, I mean.
We're not exactly sure because as of October 31st, there was a letter that was sent to the family saying that the CIU is still going to investigate this, although it's been over 4 years now, and most cases take only 18 months. However, this case has been going on for 4 years, and that they're still going to investigate this. However, we don't know if they're including all the other evidence that we have brought forward. We don't know what they're actually investigating. So we have no idea why it's taking so long to come to a decision. That's why we want the special investigator from the AG's office.
Most of the time when you have an appeal or post-conviction relief proceeding after the appellate process is over, the reliance is upon procedural improprieties or law. This one is unusual because very seldom do you get a new body of evidence that develops like this. And usually when you do, the district attorney's office jumps into the fray and says, okay, we need to go look into this because we want to make sure that we did not drop the ball. But in this case, there seems to be such a connection between the DA's office and the events that they'd rather just sort of let the sleeping dog lie over there in the corner and not disturb it.
Right. And what I think personally, and this is just my conjecture, this is just my theory, can't be proven, but I think it's because Fani Willis doesn't want to open this up. She doesn't want to look into this because then it could come out with her relations with Jermaine Smith, who was the shooter in 2005. All of that could be brought forward and be brought to light. So all this evidence could come forward.
Post the pictures and post the story. And under New York Times versus Sullivan, if she wanted to claim there's malice with no factual basis, or it's not being editorial comment by saying this person is low down, therefore we call them a snake, then they get put in a position where if you have to respond to a complaint from her, you get to bring out all kinds of things, including interesting innuendo, hearsay, and rumor, which I don't think would help her.
Yes, and as far as the implementing her having a relationship with the actual shooter, um, if there is some type of proof or evidence to that or hearsay, yeah, is that something that could be put out in social media? Because a lot of things do start up from social media, because even if the news outlet don't want to talk about it, it's that's a juicy story to put out there and then correlate it with Trayvon Reed. This is the reason why they don't want to, reinvestigate this case, or, prolonging it. Because that's what do you call that? That's a lot of dirt. You are a district attorney, and prior to that, you had a relationship with a gangbanger.
Do
Allegedly.
you have pictures? Is this a big
Allegedly.
guy? Is this a big, heavy set guy
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
beard? Okay,
Yeah, I
there
think
are
you've seen that
pictures out
picture.
there.
Yeah.
Why don't you just post some of them and say, does she wish to explain this picture? Why it looks unseemingly for somebody who is the district attorney to have had association with such an individual? And how long did this relationship go on? We, the people, would like answers, because this may have some bearing on whether or not we return you to office, or we
And the thing
choose to
is,
take other steps.
I'm
it's
sorry.
gone out on social. Go ahead, John.
Oh, I was just going to say, the fear is that it might hurt our ongoing case just to throw stuff out publicly. Who knows where it ping pongs? It will come out. The truth always rises. The truth is a very crazy story, and one that you're very familiar with, Judge. But our fear is that at this point, it's at, like, we're in fourth gear getting into fifth. We've got senators that are angry because she's giving them the finger. She refuses to go to any of their stuff, just refuses, no matter what. It had to take it to court and get injunctions on her. She still refuses. She thinks she owns the world. And the problem is just throwing little bits and tidbits of this and that out there. And then also you might get all kinds of like bad information back. And then we don't want to alert. She has no clue who we are, what we are, what's going on. We're not even on her radar, and that's to our advantage.
It is.
And it's been put out there years ago. People put these pictures, they've put other allegations out on social media. And it's just kind of died. Even a local news station, I think in 2023 or 2022, actually did a little blurb, like a little 5-minute blurb about some of the inconsistencies in the prosecution. And even that went nowhere. So
Yeah.
I think because nobody cares about prisoners, and they definitely don't care about a Black man who's in prison for committing a crime. People don't care. And it could be on the news, the local news. Okay, it's with 5-10 minutes and then they're over it. The big story is her, Fani Willis, because she's been in the news for the past 2-3 years since she took on this Trump case. So I would, and like you said, I don't, you guys are in it and you guys are the expert. And I understand what you're saying, that, you're not on her radar, but the story is her, and it's not so much Trayvon Reed. And I think for me as an outsider looking in, that's probably his best shot to getting whether reinvestigation or freedom down the line is through her, because she is the story and she's not liked, and she has a lot of dirt, a lot of hidden dirt that's starting to to come out. but because we nationally, locally, she stays in the news, and I think that the more she stay in the news, I think it's better for him. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the angle we've taken it to, because the thing is if she's done this to him, who's next? I mean, just because she knows somebody else, I mean, who could be the next victim? And we've heard of a lot of other people who've run into the same type of situation. It's just this family was the one who just reached out to us and gave us everything. I mean, they've turned over everything, all the letters and everything, from what their attorney said, what their private investigator said. They've given us all that, probably like 362 pages worth of documents, and it's a lot. So
what is isn't, I thought she was supposed to go and sit and be questioned in front of the Georgia Senate committee in November.
yeah, November 13th,
November
she was supposed to attend before that, but then a week before, the Friday before, she said there was a scheduling conflict. However, this was scheduled 2 months before, but the Friday before, she basically said, there's a scheduling conflict, I won't be attending. So, just basically giving them.
Are they going to reschedule the date?
That's what they said. And so a couple of those senators we've actually reached out to, they've expressed some interest in this case. And that's who we're reaching out to, is to try to reach out to them so they can talk to Attorney General Carr about, getting a special investigator into this case, because, how much more is she just going to basically give the middle finger to the American people and say, I can get away with anything and you guys can't touch me, before someone has to really step in and do something about it.
Exactly. And because if people could prove she is corrupt, then a lot of her cases, including Trayvon Reed, that went through her office, can be reinvestigated, reopened, retrialed, because it'll be tainted. Her office already is tainted, but I think the angle here is literally proving that she is corrupt. What was you going to say, Judge?
Well, perhaps there will be some interesting developments relative to making a knowingly false statement to a federal agency or federal official, to wit IRS and IRS agents. I think there is a possibility of federal RICO charges coming up, because there were federal funds commingled in some of what is missing right now. It looks like we have money laundering involved. And I think there are probably going to be a series of subpoenas issued before some federal committees, which have already received testimony from Mr. Wade relative to certain matters. So we've got 3 more years of the Trump administration, 3 more years and a bit more than a month. So that's likely to result in some things. And then Vance is likely to be the vice president who becomes president, as has happened so many times. So we've got about 11 more years of Miss Fani being on the hot seat and having to sweat. And what happened to Tish James is likely to happen to her with, shall we say, enhanced.
We're not going to, Jonathan, we're not, Georgia Coalition of Truth is not going to let that kid sit in there and rot for years. We're going to jump on this very quickly. If we don't get remedy with Chris Carr, we don't get remedy, we're going to go round 3. We don't expect anything. We're realistic. We're going to go to the federal level.
I think she's going to be.
We're taking this to the feds. And you're right, Dana.
She's going to get jacked up. What my point was, is she's going to get jacked up. And when she starts getting jacked up, all of the floodgates are going to open to get what you want done on the local level to implement justice.
Yep.
Yeah. So the Trump case, it was going to be dismissed on Friday, but at the last hour, they ended up getting a special prosecutor to take up the case.
No kidding. Wow.
Peter Scantalakis.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be the prosecutor in the Donald Trump election case?
It's going nowhere because even if everything they say is true, there's no crime committed.
But
And
I
the
think
judge has already dismissed some of the charges.
Yeah,
So-
so
But it's funny though, because Thursday, they were saying they couldn't find no one, and then right before the deadline on Friday, oh, we found someone, and I think that was very intentional. She's not going in front of Georgia committee. What honestly, so
it's a behind the scenes move by the Democratic Party in Georgia to come up with something and not let it go. They'd do better probably trying to bail on it, pull the loop, eject, hope the parachute works, and then try to bury the chute once they hit the ground, but they don't have that much sense.
So I want to ask you, gentlemen, what is going on in the state of Georgia? Because it's whether it's a city of South Fulton County, Marjorie Taylor Greene is beefing with Trump, and then the governor, Georgia Senate. I mean, okay, yeah, she basically gave them the finger for the past 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman has not sat in front of them to answer these questions, spending taxpayers' dollars. So what is going on in the state of Georgia?
I wish I could tell you. I've only been here not even 5 years. I lived out in Boston for about 10 years, so John could probably tell you more than me. My wife is from this area, so that's why we came back down to Georgia. And when the email from the family came forward and they gave me the aspects behind the case, she's the one I always kind of bounce ideas off of. So I was letting her know, like, hey, this case came up, what do you think? And when she heard all the allegations, she said, whether it's true or not, she said, you need to look into this. This is bad. She said, you need to do something about it. You can't just sit on this. So that she was the one who pushed me forward to. I mean, I was already going to move forward. She's just my, my cheerleader in the background that kind of pushes me forward.
It seems like that's Trayvon Reed is a little string, and if you keep pulling on it, the whole thread is going to come out. That's what it feels like. Because so people really trying to block it, delay it, because it's some other stuff that will probably be revealed. Yes, Fani Willis, and probably a little bit on the Republican side. It's just, and that's why I'm asking, what is going on in Georgia? Something about Georgia to where is everybody dirty, and so you're not going to really get true justice, or I don't know, or is everybody just worried about getting reelected?
I would say the first huge concern that I had, and I almost accidentally stumbled into it, was the Fulton County injustice system and how they prey on what you said. Ain't nobody give a rat's ass about no black folk in Fulton County, Rice Street. We change the channel. Yeah. And you know what? There's been so much apathy that this has become a job of the hut of corruption. And it's not racial. And I know the families that have been preying on these people. It's a small group of families. They got their bail bond shops. They're keeping people in. The more you investigate what's going on in Georgia, the more you start smelling privatized prison money. And so the solution is knowledge is power. To know what's going on. The next step, are you going to do something about it? I was unaware and only aware of the corruption over time to Fulton County where it's come to a head. Fani Willis, when you look at Trayvon Reed, and like you say, Dana, it just starts to unravel. It's sickening where it goes to. It doesn't go to one other thing. It goes to thousands. And the folks, my constituents, my people are so used to getting preyed on. It's just, okay, that's just normal for us, And we ain't having it anymore, Dana. We have to have justice. And yes, there is a lot of crookedness, a lot of people that chase dead presidents, and not enough people that are thinking about us. and not enough people that are running for us and helping us. That they just are trying to get their little nut. And the digger I deep, and then I see how much the nut is. It's shocking how small it is. It doesn't take a lot for a politician to get bought out. And there's no such thing. I keep saying it. It's that's Hollywood. The guy shows up in a trench coat, handing you an envelope with $10,000 cash in it. Here's your bribe, Senator. That don't go down that way in the real world. In the real world,
does it?
Huh?
Or does it?
No. It says, Dana, I love your stance on homosexual, transsexual mice from Norway. And we would love to give you $50,000 towards your nonprofit for that. We just think it's a great cause. We love what you're about. And also, we're going to throw a little more money in your campaign, whatever the max is, and blah, blah, blah. And, oh, by the way, I got a place in St. Simon's Island. I rent it out all year. In November, it's open. December, it's open. If you and the kids want to go, you and your husband, whatever, please take the keys. You'd be doing me a favor. Please just check on the place for me. My 9,000 square foot, Georgia Power, paid for a house. I'll send a private photographer, take some photos of your kids. Probably have one of my friends. He's a private chef. Can you cook you up some meals? That's how it goes.
Unlimited.
You might find something in a bureau drawer. Oh, by the way, you found something. Well, I don't know what you found.
Yep.
But and also too, and it's like, yeah, put race aside. The common denominator is poor people.
Yes.
Except because if you have money, listen, if Donald Trump was making just six figures, he would be locked up on those 36 whatever charges.
Oh, yeah.
But so they're poor.
Yeah.
And that is the common denominator. Several people came on the show just to talk, just to get their story out there. They don't come from money. I'm poor. We don't come from money. So if you don't have money, to hire an investigator, a good lawyer, paperwork for this, that, even, okay, people don't know, what you guys do, or organizations or nonprofits, that you do. You don't know, and you're poor. And people like Fani Willis and others, they take advantage of the poor and who are the most vulnerable, which is a shame. So, and that's part of people don't care because they're not wealthy like a Donald Trump, and they're not on TV. They're just a regular person. So why do I care? Oh, you probably committed a crime anyway. So, and I think that's it's unfortunate. And that's why I said that the story has to be her and her corruption. Because we shouldn't have to wait, Judge, until hopefully JD Vance gets elected, and then maybe then. No, it needs to happen under this administration. I think this is the one shot that it could happen.
We're going as hard and fast as we can.
The public is just not into it these days. I remember when I first joined the union, it was the Teamsters way, way back when. It's been 60 years ago almost. And we used to get political lectures about what was going on both sides of the coin so we could go back and tell our neighbors, and the public was pretty much up on politics and who was doing what and what the background was in economics and all of the, like you say, Senator, the ways people get influenced. And they were a lot more sophisticated than they are now. But maybe there is a glimmer of hope because people, I think, have gotten a wake-up call. The alarm clock went off. They may have put it on snooze a little bit, but it's going off and people are going to, let me drink the coffee and wake up and see what's going on.
And I think that's what it is.
I was on the snooze button until 2015. Honestly, I could give a rat's about any of this nonsense. And I'm definitely not politically motivated. Jonathan's not politically motivated. We're just a couple of dudes that's angry.
Yeah, like
so angry. We're so pissed off. We jumped in there and ran.
In other words,
that's how mad
you got home and you realized what somebody said to you at the party, and that son of a bitch. He into me. Oh, wow. You know,
You know what?
Well, I think once you awaken, a lot of people, because we have access to so much information,
Yes.
and the great reveal, even, and listen, this is why I do have respect for Candace Owens and what she's doing, just investigating things, and people who do have the resources to bring, certain situations to the light, because it is a trickle down effect. Because it can happen to me. I'm in Ohio, I'm not in Georgia. It doesn't matter. Like what happened to Trayvon Reed or anybody else, it can happen to you when you have these corrupt people in these powerful positions.
Yeah.
And to be a district attorney like Fani Willis, that is a powerful position. And how she's been moving for the past 4, 5, 6 years in that position, taking advantage of it. But the people keep voting her back in, I would say which is probably why people don't care, because the people of Fulton County continue to vote her in, because she does run on a race-based campaign. Oh, poor me, because I'm a Black woman and you don't like Black people.
No,
It's like, no,
no.
you're
The
just
reason
corrupt.
she keeps winning, it's the Republicans' fault. It's my fault. It's we don't do enough. We don't present good candidates. They tell me this. I'm 90% Black Democrat. That's what my constituents consist of. They talk to me, and they're like, "It's not we don't like y'all, and you just don't give us good candidates." And it's
Right.
absolutely
They don't
true.
reach
In the
out.
past, have horrible candidates. If you look at the record, and
Well, whatever candidate they do present, are you reaching out to different demographics, or are you just staying within your own group? Like you have to, and I'm talking about off an off election season, when it's not election time. Why are you not going into different communities or talking to different people that can potentially vote for you? Because they could be an independent. They don't really have to be a Democrat. So I don't
right.
think Republicans, they're not doing a lot of outreach.
No, they don't. I'm like it. Jonathan can tell you it's kind of hilarious how little outreach it is, but it's coming around now. It's taken me 3 years to bang these Republicans over the head, but they're finally getting it. They really are, and they genuinely do want to do outreach. They just don't know how. But I'm hosting a debate with the Lieutenant Governor Republican candidates at January 8th. And the two other moderators are the Atlanta Black Chamber chairman, very Democrat, and politics and Black families. Why? Because, like I said, I'm 90% Black Democrat. So these are my people. I want to know what you're going to do for me. I want to know what the Lieutenant Governor is going to do for Black families. And then I'm also going to do one for the Secretary of State, and I'm going to do one for gubernatorial before the primary in May. And then we'll have 3 of those after the winners, and I'll do 3 more debates. Now, I want to ask them questions the Republicans want to know. And if it wasn't for me and my little Republican Roundup show, my little side thing, no one would know anything, because the only source of information most Republicans use is Signal. And in the beginning, it started out as okay. It was, this we're having this meeting here, go to this. And then it turned into a bitch fest. And then it turned into so-and-so called me fat. Oh, yeah, well, you're ugly, And then smarter people get off of it and don't have time for that nonsense. So now we don't really have any kind of way. If you want to, do you know how many candidates we have for lieutenant governor, for the Republicans? The answer is 6. Do we know who they are? You might be able to rattle 1, maybe 2. And our goal is we got to find out who's who. And I'm doing this on the Democratic side. We're looking at everybody. Because the Fulton County injustice system has got to be dismantled and reassembled.
Yeah.
And this has been going on for decades. The things that I'm finding out are shocking. This Trayvon Reed case and Young Thug and all these other folks, that just some of the many, many victims of what's going on. Yes, there's news pieces that get buried almost as soon as they're done. We've seen them. And it's not that nobody cares. It's that they don't know. It's not their fault that they're made to be ignorant. There's a lot of money spent to keep us ignorant. And so it's up to everyone keeps saying what makes a good candidate. A good candidate is someone that can't be bribed legally or illegally. That's what makes a good judge, a good candidate. People that are working for us. And it sounds, whatever, like unrealistic, but if you get the right people in, it won't be unrealistic.
Well, then maybe, and I definitely want you guys to come back on, and maybe this conversation can be a part two, because maybe it's intentional. It's intentional for Republicans and Democrats to present certain candidates, who are politicians and not statesmen. Because if you actually get somebody in there and you push them and they really don't care about the people, that's bad for us, because we need for them to toe the line of anything that could be unethical. So candidates that are being invested in, because listen, your DNC, RNC, they're the ones who put money in your campaign. So a lot of times they are propped up by their party, and it's very intentional because they want a yes man, not someone who actually care.
Well, Jonathan and I both share something that's a blessing, and that is that the Republican Party, we're a joke in their eyes. We are running in a race that's unwinnable as far as they're concerned. So to put one single nickel into our race or to do anything to help us out would just be folly and a waste of funds. So the money that we've raised has either been out of our pocket or from grassroots people, $5, $10. Nobody big has approached us, but we like that because we don't have weird lobbyists trying to hustle us. We don't have Georgia Power trying to kiss our butt, to get us to say yes to everything, all their increases and all this, and to encourage a PSC or whatever, because they look at us as unwinnable. So they leave us alone. So Jonathan and I and a couple other candidates that are in these, quote, unwinnable, districts. Well, the funny thing is we're getting way more votes than we're supposed to get. Jonathan cleared over 100,000 votes in an extremely Democratic district. And we think he's going to do really, really well this cycle. Me, I got 3 times more than I should have with no budget and no staff. And it's getting the word out. Word spreads fast in the Black community, as we all know. And so, we all know, everyone, there's no one, even someone that has a brain of a second grader knows that they're getting preyed on by that Fulton County injustice system. And also Clayton County's a mess. And DeKalb needs some help. So
I've run, oh, go ahead, John.
I'm sorry, Jonathan. Good.
So I've run twice. So the first time I ran, I almost got 21% of the vote. Second time I ran, I almost got 30% of the vote. Yeah. And actually, the second time I ran, I spent less money. It was all my money, but I spent less money. And basically what I did is, like John said, we just go out to the Black community. We go out to these community centers. We go out, and just talk to people. And that was pretty much how I did it, is social media blasts and just talking to people. And that's how I got close to 30%. So that's why when the district said, this is going to come around again, hey, since you did pretty good last time around, do you mind running again? And I said, yeah, but I'm going to need a little bit more money because I'm getting tired of paying for this myself. So, I don't need a lot of money, but just a little bit. So,
and let me,
something, if I can make a suggestion.
Oh, go ahead. As
active Republicans, lobby those who have been elected, particularly the ones that are in DC, about restoring fairness to reporting. That was something that went out about 1982. If you badmouth one side, they got a chance to have a freebie reply, which was bad for the commercial side of things for broadcast television, but it tended to make the presentations and the reporting a little bit more objective. But that's one thing I think somebody needs to lobby about. And I will also say this: late October, early November 24, I was in Georgia, and I went from North Carolina to Florida campaigning for Trump. all over the state, and there is a grassroots swell that somebody could take advantage of if they worked at it. And also some of the middlemen, the gatekeepers, they're trying to maintain personal authority and power, and they're cutting off a lot of resources from being spread about because the spread would diminish what they have going for them. So
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
that, Judge, because you were going to be a speaker at one of the dinners. It was on a Saturday night, I think it was, and
yeah,
I wanted to get tickets to that, but actually I had a work obligation for that night, so I wasn't able to go. Because actually locally, I'm also the chairman for our local or our county GOP as well. So I run that countywide. So that's how I knew about. I think it was it Henry County or I don't know, but I remember the dinner, and I just couldn't go. But
Well, just real quick, because I do want you guys to, tell people where they can follow you, and and to talk about your campaign a little bit. It sounds like what y'all doing is when grassroots campaigning, canvassing, and I think people forget about this because her war chest, AOC war chest, is very big now. But when she was running for her seat in those two districts up in the Bronx, I think one is in the Bronx and one is in Queens. She did it old school, knocked on doors, and because she didn't have money, and she won. And that was one of the biggest upsets. Now, she's in Congress and people look at AC like she's batshit crazy, but she got in there. She got in there the old school way, canvassing and talking to the people, actually doing what you guys are doing. Now when she runs, it's all about APAC and that money, but or George Soros and the money. However, she's in there. So, but she got there grassroots, and there's a couple of people that I know that lived in her district, older homeowners, and it was like, listen, I don't care what she be saying at these congressional hearings, as long as she is making sure our potholes are filled in the district, they're going to keep voting for her. So it's just all about getting in there, and I think grassroots is the way to go, because people minds, especially young people, my generation and younger, who have always voted Democrat, they're changing. Their mindset is changing. But please tell people where they can follow you, and I definitely want you guys to come back on so we could do a part 2.
so the Georgia Coalition for Truth, we don't have a website, but you can do Georgia Coalition for Truth at gmail.com. That's our email. For my website, it's my full name, Jonathan Chavez for Congress.com. And through that, there's an email link. So you can email me if you have any information about the Trayvon Reed case or any other cases. You can email me through that, and I can respond to that. So that's one good way to reach out to us. John?
Just get me on Facebook until we get our websites up and running. John Salveson, Salvesen. John, the H is silent, John. And basically, we're just moving forward with trying to get justice for Trayvon Reed. And in uncovering his case, we're uncovering a lot of other stuff too.
So how about we have you guys come back next month?
Okay.
With an update, and you probably will have an update as far as with Trayvon Reed and your race and the Fani Willis corruption saga. So yeah, I want you guys to come back next month, and because people need to hear and see you guys more often. So
Appreciate you, Dana.
Yeah, because his story, and I think I had his mom on the show a year ago as well. So,
I think so.
Yeah,
she knows you,
right?
so
With
yes.
the private investigator. So this has been going on for a minute. So yeah, definitely let's schedule something for next month to have you guys come back on and give us an update. And I really appreciate you guys coming on tonight. It's very informative.
Thank you for having us. Thank you, Judge.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Judge. You're the best. I'm a huge fan. Thank you, Dana.
thank you.
Thank you.
Love you all. Thank you,
All right.
Jonathan.
Keep up the struggle.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
You have my word.
We will.
You have our word.
All right. Good night.
Bye.
2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up.
Okay.
Okay.
So just a couple more things. That was a great discussion, and I'm actually going to clip it and upload it. So people who didn't catch it tonight, I'm gonna have to do that in 2 parts. That was really good. I definitely want them to come back because I don't know. Everybody got to keep their foot on Fani Willis' neck. I'm sorry. Because it's not just her, it's other people. If she goes down, she'd probably bring people down with her, but something has to change. It really has to change.
You
And
know what needs to be changed is because she's riding the wave of it being done wrong, and people, a generational thing. It's a generational adaptation to the wrong thing being done for the wrong ways. It's not that there has not been corruption in the political process before. It's endemic. The only thing is that previously the person in the street got something out of it, but the people that are in charge now don't understand
yes,
that. So they just take it as this is an opportunity for me to get rich and move on up to the
and
east side without paying attention to the other folk out there, and they get nothing.
that's exactly, you hit it right on the nail, because it was a time, corruption has always been corrupt, but the people, especially in the Black community with Black politicians, they got something in return. So Adam Clayton Powell, it got to a point to where I don't know if he was corrupt or not, but it got to a point
He was, but he delivered.
Yes, he did. He didn't. Only thing he had to do was go to the church on Sunday, and that was his campaign. They was going to because he did so much for his district.
Yeah,
For
he
Black
bought
people.
himself an island and all of the rest of that. And he was
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. But what he put in place really helps Black people today, and we got to do a show on him.
well, you know what? About 40 some years ago, old black man say, Lawyer Brown, I don't know what's wrong with these politicians these here days. Say you used to be able to get a slice of watermelon, shot of fairly decent whiskey, and a shiny new quarter for your folk. Now you don't get shit.
Right.
Oh, listen, hey, you know, I understand watermelon
Like
in
if you're going to
July.
steal, at least leave me with
I
$20
think
or something. So right.
a quarter and a shot of whiskey. That's a hell of a lot better than most of these clowns are delivering right now.